while I have two kids. And like, I'm just amazed by women who do, because I'm like, and I'm amazed that all of you got here before 9 a.m. with your kids, and I had someone helping me, and we really almost didn't make it here, getting two kids here. So, but yeah.
Yeah, so I've been in ministry pretty much my whole life, with the exception of when I worked for the state of South Carolina, and in their mental health world, we saw a lot of things I thought I would never see in this life, as far as people's conditions and psychotic type behavior. But the whole time when I went back to school, our dream was for Hopetown. And we're now, so I did it like side hustle for the longest time. I'd go to the state job, and then at night I would work doing part-time Hopetown stuff, and Ashley was at home, new baby. We were planning on doing that for about 4 years. We realized that we weren't going to make it.
I wasn't going to make it.
She wasn't going to. I don't think I would make it either. And so we decided to leave 2 years early and start Hopetown full time. And so we did that back in May. And so we're a local in Anderson. We're committed to Anderson in the upstate. Local Christian counseling practice right off of Main Street. I got some cards back there if any of y'all are interested. But Hopetown, I always tell people, short synopsis, I love mental health. I love talking about real things, the mess of life. I'm not afraid of that. I wasn't always that way. I grew up in the conservative South, actually, Simpsonville, South Carolina. And as you know, you have to put an appearance up, at least we did in my household. I remember us getting in the worst arguments on the way to church on Sunday. And then when you walk in, everything's fine. Or we're yelling, screaming, and then somebody calls, and my mom picks up, and it's like, how do you do that? And so, but one thing I didn't tell people because of that, because of this need, and because of other things too, to have an appearance, one thing I struggled with from high school was severe anxiety, panic attacks, and I didn't know what they were. I thought it was the devil getting at me, or whatever it is. I just didn't know, and I tried everything imaginable to get rid of my anxiety. And then, long story short, had a breakdown at the ripe old age of 24, 34 now. But at the ripe old age of 24, I got diagnosed with panic disorder. And essentially, panic disorder is, we all have a trigger in our brain that goes off when we're in danger. And rightfully so, because God put it there to protect us. Because, it's an uncomfortable thought. I won't use that example. If we were walking out in front of a street and a car is coming, that trigger needs to go off, right? In order to protect us. And our heart's gonna start racing, we're gonna get sweaty, our blood's gonna rush to our arms or to our legs because our body's getting ready to fight or flight. Except somebody that struggles with panic disorder, they experience all of those symptoms when there's no danger. So I could be talking like this, and my brain tells me there's danger, there's a car coming, and there's no car coming, clearly. And so I got diagnosed with that. Two things I said I would never do in my life were go to counseling, it's hilarious, and take medication, because I was a Christian. And Christians didn't do that, because that meant you had lack of faith in God or whatever it is. At least this was my perception at the time. Yeah. And so, but fell in love with it though, through the process, experienced healing. I believe I was healed through science, through counseling and medication, which was problematic because science again was the devil, growing up and where I grew up. And so, these two things God used to heal me. And I always look at healing as a process. Like I always say, I'm healed, I'm being healed, and I will continue to be healed. Because I think we're obsessed, especially as Christians, for this ED, to put the ED on it, just to get past something. And I don't think that's always healthy. I view healing as a process. It's a journey. We need to be okay with not putting the ED. So I say I'm healed, I'm being healed, and I will continue to be healed. And so Hopetown birthed, yes, out of a place of I love this stuff, but it also birthed out of real pain and real struggle. And so it's such a cool thing for us, because we were dating when I first had the breakdown, and she's been with me the whole time. And I even gave her the option. I was like, I know this is crazy. I remember having that conversation at the beginning. If you want to dip out of this, I understand if you want to. But she didn't, because of who she is. And
She's Ruth.
she's Ruth, that's right. She is.
Go, Ash. You're my man. I will stand with
You're
you.
my man.
If you die, I will die.
Yeah.
What?
And so Hopetown birthed out of real pain and real struggle. And so we love walking through that struggle and that pain and that brokenness with other people. As weird as that sounds, we're kind of obsessed with it. But Paul says, he's learned that when he's weak, he's strong. That Christ's power is sufficient for him in his weakness. And Paul even goes on to say, therefore, I'm going to boast all the more about his what? His weaknesses. Paul says these words. The Apostle Paul, at the end of his life, says, all right, if Christ's power is resting on me when I'm weak, then I'm going to boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, about my struggles. Because when I'm weak, then I'm strong. And so we love helping people walk in that and tap into that, because so much fruit, so much joy. This was not the plan. I was a marketing major at Clemson. This was not the plan for me, but this way of life, congratulations. You're the first.
I'm just glad we're the mom's group right now.
This way of life is intoxicating to us. And we've helped, so many people walk through it. It's definitely scary at times, stepping out on our own, taking this leap of faith. And we've had some many hard conversations, but we're so thankful, where we're at. And we're so thankful and honored to be here. Dax told me he had my back this morning, even though he can't talk, he's not weak. But so thankful and honored to be here with y'all, because I know that just because I'm married to one, I know there's real struggle and confusion can be during this season of life. And so if we can at all be a resource to you or somebody else you love, we'd love to do that. That was a long synopsis, but anyway.
Yes, but it was good. I don't know if it's on anymore. Maybe it went off.
Hello. Okay. So with that, Zach, last night you guys gave us some questions, and last night actually was on the phone with my husband for a bit for some of these questions because I wanted to get his perspective. So this first question: what advice can you give to a man, husband, or partner to help him when mom is struggling? It's hard for men to understand, let alone know how to help. So here's two of the things that Clayton said. We just talked about what we did. So it was kind of fun to get my husband's perspective on what he thinks that he did with me. Or what we should have done better. So I think that one thing that we needed to do probably better would be clear communication of where I'm feeling overwhelmed and giving him specific ways to help. So I think that I communicated that I was overwhelmed, that I can't do it, that whatever, but I was afraid to actually give him things to do because I felt like it was my job and I wanted to carry it. I felt like I was supposed to carry it. So instead of believing in him or giving him specific ways to help, I just always believed he couldn't help me. So clear communication. So communicate your expectations clearly so he can win. Right?
Help him win.
So whoever it is in your life who's trying to help you, even if it's a mom, like your mom or a friend, a lot of times if people don't do it the way that we would do it and we feel like it's going to cause more work, we're just like, I'll just do it. I don't know if you're like me, but that's what I do.
Yep.
Sometimes it just means letting some of those expectations go a little bit, but also having clear communication. And here's the hard thing. Babies change so much, so like one day you may do it this way and the next day you have to change it. So even if it's just a note card with like bullet points, just having that ready. If someone can come and help you and you have like those bullet points, maybe every 2 weeks you have to change that card, but bullet points on how to help so that he can win. Be careful not to criticize before you thank whoever is helping you. And then if you need to correct anything, do it after the thankfulness. So
clear communication of where you're feeling overwhelmed and what you're feeling. And what I say now, we very clearly say, I don't want you to fix this, I'm just telling you how I feel. So can I talk about that? Or, I do need a solution, can you help me figure out one? So there's two things that you're wanting sometimes. Sometimes you don't want to fix anything, you just want to spill. And so you need to tell him that, or her, or whoever it is. And then if you do need help and you're open to that, communicate that. So that's what we said. Zach, what would you say?
This is great.
Yes. She clearly
This is a
communicated.
total real life right here. Yeah, in this moment. Wow, I'm not sure no.
Let me try to keep this on.
Okay, it's hot over there. So yeah, that question, I love Shari's kind of hit like the very practical, obvious needs as moms that we have, but it's, so this has been a really interesting couple of months for us. So we had Dax August 6th. He came a few weeks early, which ended up being a blessing. And then Zach's dad passed away